Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello and welcome to Netflix vs. Cinema, the podcast that answers, or does it just ask, the titular question of Netflix or cinema? Where should you go to? Which one is becoming more and more pertinent, and where should you actually bother spending your money? My name is Tosin. I'm up near Coventry in the Midlands, and on the Isle of Wight joining me tonight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Shaun.
Hiya.
Right, cool. Well, we're coming after a week off in which I think, Shaun, you had a bit of car trouble last week, so we couldn't quite record this.
I did have some car trouble, yes, but it's all fixed now. Although it did go again when I was waiting to get on the ferry. But I managed to get on. They said, if you don't get it started soon, you won't be getting on the ferry. But someone come out and sorted it. But yeah, it was all right.
That's life on an island.
Oh, that's living on an island. That's the kind of things you have to worry about. And so we had a week off last week, which means that we've had a usual sort of backlog. Even though I think cinema has been reflecting the English summer this year in that it doesn't realize it's summer yet. There doesn't seem to be that many films about, but we have ended up with 4 films this week. So we have 4 rounds of going through this of what we usually do on Netflix or cinema. So it's going to be a bit of a rush this week. We're giving ourselves a timer with 7 minutes to talk about each film. But first of all, we want to talk about Also Ran. So these are films that we have seen in the week, but did not quite make it into our official round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4 of Netflix versus cinema. So, Shaun, you saw something called American Experience Circus. Do you want to tell us quickly what that was and what you felt about that?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, two-part documentary about the beginnings of the circus, obviously Barnum Bailey, and about how the circuses came into being with more and more exotic animals, and how it started off small and then trains, actual proper trains. And then the second one was about the Ringling Brothers and sort of taking over. They joined up and blah, 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 so on, so on. This is, as I say, for a documentary series, it's really, really, it's good. And there's some really, really old footage. And the crowds are huge. They said, they made so much money because they'd have these big parades with all the animals, exotic animals. And they've got some really old footage, I would say. All right. Probably 1930s. Actual footage of the parades, the circus parades, and the thousands of people. So
pretty much the circus that was the predecessor to the cinema.
Yeah, basically that's it. It's what the entertainment was, and people used to work, and it's how they got around. Started off on wagons, and then they had special trains, and they'd even stop trains. And I think one carriage was about 100 carriages long, just to tour the country. But it was interesting, and then gradually has obviously with the animals and stuff, more and more people. But it was a really, really good documentary, well worth a watch. There's some old footage of some circus acts.
Oh, good stuff. Now, moving on quickly. Now, we used to do another podcast called They Don't Make Them Like They Used To, and we actually tweeted out an episode of that podcast when we couldn't make it last week. And on that podcast, you spoke about a film called Phase 4, which is about ants. And
That's right.
I actually have this film on my viewing list on Netflix based on your recommendation.
It is on Netflix now.
Yeah. But I haven't seen it yet. But you watched this film again this week, did you?
I did. Yeah, I watched this film again just to see. It's a very, very odd film. It's about how these ants become, they they can communicate with each other, and how they sort of slowly taken over the world. Yeah. As I say, it's a very odd film, but it's worth a watch. It's quite interesting, especially with the ants when they talk to each other. Yeah. And so yeah, it's on there. When I saw it on there, I thought, oh my goodness.
What year was that made?
About 76, something like that.
So not real vintage.
Might have been 70. Probably earlier than that. Definitely early 70s.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, okay.
So. Maybe 74 even, 73, 74.
Yeah, no, I've had it on my list for about a year because you spoke about it on They Don't Make Them Like They Used To, which you can find now on all good podcast providers. I saw it on there, and then we spoke about it on there, and I saw it on Netflix. I was like, ooh, need to watch that one of these days. Shaun said it's good.
You do, and then you can tell me what you thought. Yeah, it's probably really dated. You'll probably think it's dated, but
no,
still
I think it's the ideas. The ideas were in that kind of thing. It's because the premise sounds almost a bit like an episode of Black Mirror. But enough of our Also Rans. Let's get on to the main event. So here we have round 1, and we go over to cinemas, and we're going to talk about Toy Story 4 to begin with, which I believe we've all seen. But Sharon, I'm going to let you take this away. Tell us a little bit what this film's about.
Yeah, this is the only animated film I plan to see this year. It's I normally sort of manage one a year, and this was it. Basically, this is the Toy Story characters, those people we are well familiar with. There's Woody and Buzz and Bo and Jesse and all the pig and the Slinky Dog and all the others. I don't know their names. Potato Heads. They're all back, and this is after Andy has grown up, who was the owner of the toys originally. In the first 3 films, he's now grown up and he's gone away to college, and he's given his toys to a neighbouring child. And for Woody, it's not the same. He was Andy's toy, and being the toy of this little girl called Bonnie, it's not the same. And it's sort of brought home to him, especially when Annie makes this little toy at play school called Forky, made out of a Bonnie. Sorry, yeah. She makes this little toy out of basic rubbish and old forks, a wooden pallet and some bendy straws, and she calls him Forky. And Forky, when he gets taken back to the bedroom, can talk and interact with the other toys. And Forky quickly becomes this little girl Bonnie's favourite toy. And so the toys then go on holiday with Bonnie and her family onto this road trip, and all sorts of adventures ensue. And it takes them on a journey on a physical level and on a metaphysical level as well.
Cool. All right, cool. So that was it. Okay, so I think you alluded a little bit to it. By the way, very, very good, concise roundup. But you alluded a little bit to it. But there's some things about this film I absolutely love, because when they mentioned Toy Story 4, my first reaction was, why? No! Yeah. It's perfect! Toy Story 3 was perfect! I mean, that was like the most perfect trilogy ever. Why are you messing with it? And that was my real reaction. I was really, really scared about this film. I really thought that this could be where they just messed the whole thing up.
And the trailer was, I must admit, I was the same, and I didn't think the trailer was particularly good.
Yeah, the trailer...
In fact, I thought the trailer really was like, oh my God, this is going to be awful. Yeah.
Especially with in the trailer, there were 2 new characters, Ducky and Bunny, and I didn't like them in the trailer. I did not like them in the trailer. I was like, no, that's just too much. That's too much. I don't like this. And I was so pleasantly surprised with this film. I was like, how did they do it? How did they managed to do something? That because, like as you said, this film is really about sort of accepting that your time's over almost, which is what Woody has to do. He has to accept that the thing that has given his life, in inverted commas, meaning all these years, is no longer there. He doesn't have it anymore. He is not the man anymore, and he has to figure out where he goes from there. And I also just loved the whole existential crisis that Forky has. When Forky comes in and he's like, I'm supposed to be thrown away. Why am I alive? Why am I alive?
Yeah. I thought that was that.
Yeah, and he keeps throwing himself into the bin, and then it's like, in the bin, at the bin, in the bin, at the bin. Yeah. It's very, very clever.
I mean, I really like some new characters, and I mean, was it Gabby Gabby?
Gabby Gabby, yeah.
Gabby Gabby, like you think, what? Because I mean, in some of the ones, there's some fairly horrible sort of toys, isn't there? Really? There's some not very nice toys.
They end up in this. It's not a spoiler to say there's an antique shop features in it.
Yes,
and there are some seriously hideous toys.
There's
in that
some real creepy ones in that. But yeah.
The thing is,
so I like the. Yeah, go on. Sorry, Tosin.
So I was going to say, Toy Story has always played with horror. Like Toy Story there's always horror elements in every single Toy Story movie when you watch them back. And I felt like this was the one in which I felt the most that you said, oh my God, yeah, there are some definite horror things in there. And the ventriloquist dummies have never looked so scary. That antique shop thing is quite good. And I think that they did a clever thing, which is every Toy Story film, like when you had the bad guy, it was becoming a bit samey when you had the bad guy. And they sort of do something with the bad guy in this that switches it a bit. And I was like, oh, it's still a little bit, there's still for me, it's still horror tinged. And I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, it's a little bit dark. A little bit dark.
Yeah.
It's
in
dark.
a different. It's got a different slant on it, isn't it?
Yeah, there is a bit of a scene stealer, I think. Comes in Doug Kaboom.
Kaboom.
Yes, I Canada.
Kaboom is
Yes, I Canada.
Voiced by, of course, Keanu Reeves.
That is a real scene stealer, I think.
We like him, didn't we?
Yeah,
he's
very good.
Although I did really like Little Bo Peep in this film. I thought Little Bo Peep was
Yeah, Bo Peep was pretty cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she got
She
more
was
to do
pretty
in this
cool,
film than
wasn't
she
she,
did in the previous 3 combined.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some of the lesser characters, well, not the lesser characters, some of the background players are very much background players in this one. They don't really feature in the story. But
Yeah, like
they're still
Potato
there. So
Head.
I think
I really liked the little one as well, like the little bombshell
Oh.
one, like was that Polly Pockety sort of thing?
yeah, one of these little
little
friends
Oh,
in my
Gig.
pocket type
Gigs.
things. Yeah.
Gig, yeah, she was so yeah. I mean, there's lots of great characters in this. I think and I agree with you, Toe. Some you think, ooh, that doesn't look. From the trailer, you was like,
I didn't see the trailer, so
No.
I went in there completely cold.
Well, the trailer put me right off. So,
But then I don't intend to ever watch an animated film. So it's only when my friend said, "Oh wait," because she chose this week's film. It's like, "Hey, we're going to see Toy Story 4."
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, are we?"
a bit Bo Peep if that was Sharon, wasn't it? Yeah. I think in the original Toy Story, Bo Peep you imagine to be like quite gentle and
Yeah.
I seem to remember it from,
Like a
I've
little
seen it for a
girl's
while.
toy.
Yeah, but
She's grown up in this one.
Yeah, she certainly has.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's some very clever scenes. I thought
There are. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Pixar did that brilliant thing that they always do, which is they do a film that kids can watch it and love it, and parents can watch it on a whole different level and get something totally different from it.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And did you guys stay to the very, very end?
No, what, to the very final bits?
To the very
No.
final bit. There's a hilarious scene that pays off something that happens off early in the film, and they leave it to the very, very end. I'd like to thank Helen O'Hara from the Empire Film Podcast, who put out a tweet saying, "Stay till the very, very end for Toy Story 4," because there's something that is it's actually just hilarious that comes up. Oh, okay, cool.
Oh, I'll have to see if it appears on a friendly YouTube channel near us.
Yes. I mean, check it out. It's quite good. All right, that was an alarm going off telling us that our time is that we need to move
Time
on.
is up.
Yeah.
Time is up.
We-
Okay.
but
So we
quickly,
need points, though, don't we?
Yes, we need to rate it. How many stars would we give Toy Story 4?
4-star for me. 4-star.
Yeah, 4-star here.
I'd give it a 4-star.
4-star. Yep.
4-star.
I'd give it 4 as well.
Yeah. I would say 4 as well. And I'm just happy that, for me, from being really scared that they shouldn't have made this film and thinking that I was just going to mess the whole thing up, I'm happy that they actually managed to round it off in a very, very, very nice way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they absolutely cannot do another one after
No,
this. I
no,
think
that's
that would
it.
just
I think
ruin
it needs
everything.
to,
So they
needs,
cannot do
needs to
another
be
one.
it.
I think
Yeah.
they can do another one. I just really, really hope that they don't, because they'll have to bend themselves into all sorts of pretzel-y shapes to make it work. All right, and so that's round one.
Time up.
Cinema kicking off in a good way, 4 stars. And now we're going to go over to Netflix for a film that I believe only I have seen, called See You Yesterday. Now, this is a film that it's like a confluence of a whole bunch of different things that come up. Like, it's a time travel movie, and it's a time travel movie starring kids. So it's like, it's kind of like a time travel caper, so to say. But, in most sort of time travel movies, it's also like fun and games and all that kind of stuff. But in this one, the character at the center of it is a girl who lives in the projects somewhere in New York. So she comes from like poor privileged background. She's black. She and her friend are like the smartest kids in the school, and everybody knows this. So how everybody has like a job outside of school. Their job is fixing people's phones and fixing their laptops and all that kind of stuff in the neighborhood while working on their own project, which they say this is going to be the project that they're going to use to get into MIT. They're going to use this project and it's going to get them the scholarships to get into MIT. And their project is trying to prove that time travel is possible. And they're playing around with this whole thing, and they figure out how to make it happen. And around about the time that they figure out how to make it happen, her brother gets killed in a police shooting. He was unarmed, a case of mistaken identity, and he gets killed by the police. So in that way, it's kind of quite topical, because that's been happening quite a bit in America. There have been a lot of films released in the last couple of years, like Black Klansman and things like that talk about the
Detroit.
Yes, Detroit. Yeah,
Detroit's a great movie.
Yeah,
Great movie.
Great films, and they've been like good films as well. Good films as well that telling you about this is the plight of what black people have to go through in America. And this takes that whole idea and that whole conversation of Black Lives Matter thing and puts it into like a time travel caper movie. So the whole idea is that they keep going back in time to try and stop her brother getting shot. And I loved this film. I thought it was really, really good, because it was a film that from that description you think, okay, cool, it has a message and it's trying to like really, really build something up, and it's trying to like, preach at you or something, but it never forgets that it's a time travel caper movie, and it does that. It does that whole time travel thing really well. It's one of the best. It's one of those, you know how you have different time travel things. We just had Avengers Endgame, which has like a big time travel element to it, and but you know you have the time travel movies where we can go back in time and we can make things better now because we've gone back in time, so we can change the past pretty much. It's one of those, so you have to accept that first of all, that they think we can go back in time, and if you have any sort of like physics understanding, you might have issues with that. But once you've accepted that, it's quite good. It has a cameo. It has a cameo that when I saw this cameo, I could not decide if it was genius or cheese. I've been like going through my head, I'm like, oh my god, and I think I've come down on the side of it's genius. The cameo is
good. The
cameo is genius, but it threads a very, very fine line. It's produced by Spike Lee, so obviously the whole although it's not directed by him, it's produced by him. And I think the film is just great. I mean, I think the way that they go back in, I think the way they draw the characters out. For instance, her brother, you get to meet him for a very short time at the beginning of the film, but you get an instant sense of what their relationship is like. You get instances of what the relationship is like, of why she would go back and all that kind of stuff. And they are brave enough to not make their main character likable. So I was watching with my wife, and she was like, I actually really, really didn't like that girl. So they didn't feel a need to do it. So I think they gave you a very real character, because she's a geek, obviously, because she's working on all this science stuff and stealing stuff from the science lab because she wants to go to her friend's garage and work on an experiment. But at the same time, she's not like, the sort of geek that just gets bullied and everything like that. You meet her talking about science, and then 5 minutes later, someone is trying to sort of like steal her backpack, and she's beating them up in the streets. That kind of thing. So she knows how to handle herself. But I thought it was a very good film, and this was like a film that I was watching going, oh, this is good, this is solid. Then the last scene of the film, the way the film ends, elevates the film for me. I'm like, oh, that has just made this film better. That's just made this film, and I think there've been some people on Twitter who've been a bit contentious about the ending of this film. But I actually think that the last frame of this film is genius. I think it's brilliant, and I think it elevates the film up another level. I would give it 4 out of 5.
Okay.
Wow.
Cool.
Good score.
4 out of 5. Yeah, good score.
Yeah.
Good score. Has it had mixed reviews then, Tosin?
No, it's had mostly positive reviews.
Has it?
Yeah.
Oh, we're just looking on IMDb there, and I was looking at the user reviews, and because sometimes I do that now, and I suppose, I mean, there's a lot of this sort of a bit mixy-uppy. There's quite a lot of low ones, but maybe that's...
Well...
Pardon?
We'll give it a... Yeah,
but so I might have to give that a laugh and to make our own mind up. That's good. It's good when there's things are like that.
Yeah, I actually... And I think a lot of the mixed reviews are because of the ending, the way the film ends.
Right.
There's some sort of people that I know, if you like a certain type of film, you will hate the ending. But if you like another type of film, you would love the ending. So,
right, okay, cool.
So, yeah, and I think the ending changes the way you see the whole film so far. The ending, ending either makes the film better or worse, depending on how you look at it. For me, it made the film better. All right, cool. Oh, good. We have 1 minute to play with. 1 minute, 20 seconds. So
1 minute, 20 seconds, actually.
Yeah, so that is round one done with. Round one done, Netflix cinema. And now we get on to round two. Round two, we're going back into the cinema. And Sharon, I think you're the only one who's seen this film. And it is the Hummingbird Project.
Oh, no, Shaun has seen this one as well.
We saw it together.
You saw it together? Oh, the both of you saw it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Take it away.
Yeah.
I'm just going to sit down here for the next 7 minutes and try and say nothing.
I'll let Sharon do the synopsis because she's real class, isn't she? She nails it. She nails the synopsis. Me, I go with feelings.
Well, this is a film set at the time of the stock market crash in 2011, where everything went a bit horribly wrong. We had the whole subprime crisis in America, which led to a number of stock market crashes, which led to a financial crisis in other countries. So this was the climate in which this film is set, and there's these. It was a dramatic film.
That was a dramatic bit of music, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's set, and so there's these two guys played by Jesse Eisenberg and Alexander Skarsgård. They're cousins
Yep.
of Russian descent who work for this high-tech stock trading company. And it all comes down to sort of like nanoseconds, how quickly you get ahead of the market by playing the markets, by the first person who can sort of buy stuff and then sell it. A fraction of a second makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And these two chaps come up with this project where they basically lay a cable from, is it Kansas?
Kansas, is it
Kansas to New York.
You have to excuse me on that.
Tell them to go away, Shaun.
They want to lay this microfiber cable from physical cable under the ground
Yep.
from Kansas to New York, and this will cut off one. Is it nanosecond or millisecond?
I'm not sure, really. I can't.
A fraction of a second. It's called the Hummingbird Project because this is one beat of a hummingbird's wing. This
Okay.
is how quick, how much. But this will make all the difference when you're trading in these sort of high market stocks and shares.
Okay.
And so you see these two guys set about then trying to buy the land or buy permission to lay this cable across the land. Mm-hmm. To lay this cable down, and this is like 1,000 miles of cable.
Yeah.
And they need to purchase like 1 foot width of people's lands through through private lands, through towns, through mountains, through under rivers, and it's this daunting project. And you see the toll that this takes on them, both physically, emotionally, mentally. And whilst they're doing this, their former employer, played by Salma Hayek, she's trying to beat them at their own game by inventing a new way of using microwaves to transmit information, saving, this same amount of time.
Yeah.
So there's like this race on, whether the physical cable or whether the microwaves, who will get there first and who will sort of be the ones to clean up, basically. And so you've got this sort of race against technology trying to build this line.
Okay, so it sounds a bit kind of, you have all these big films, and okay, maybe because it has Jesse Eisenberg in it, but I'm thinking like The Social Network, when you're talking about stories of this big endeavor, or something like Moneyball, where you're taking something that is like statistics but you're going into how things work, and you end up with one of these films that goes into the minutiae, but comes up with something possibly interesting.
Yeah, I think that's certainly what they're striving for.
Okay.
They're sort of making it, again, they're making it like a metaphor for their lives. That they have this. Is your life about the destination or is it about the journey? And so this is a film. It's about this project and all the things they go through to achieve this project. As in some ways is more important than the end result.
All right.
And so they throw a little bit. They throw relationships in here. They throw about what people really want, what their dreams are, what their ambitions are. This one guy, Alexander Skarsgård character, he's he's on like the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
And all he wants is to live somewhere quiet one day where there's hummingbirds, where he can just sit and enjoy the view. Because he works in this high pressure, intense environment, and basically he's
You wouldn't
happiest.
recognise him, would you?
No,
You wouldn't recognise him.
Quite different.
They're quite
Where
different.
him, it's not about
Money.
physically building this thing. It's about achieving. That's what he's aiming for. He wants to achieve this dream. So it's about this physical project, but it's also about the journey that they go through in their lives.
Okay. All right.
With-
we have about 2 minutes.
on.
Shaun, what do you think?
Okay, I'm just going to say, so I think that this didn't really know what it wanted to be. I didn't know if it wanted to be like a serious comedy or a serious thing or bit comedy. I thought, I don't know, Jesse Eisenberg, I like him in some stuff and I'm not so keen on him in other, and he very much plays himself. So, yeah, to me, this film didn't really know what it wanted to be, This
Okay.
film just had no idea, and I thought it was all a bit. I don't know. I was sort of on the fence with this one. I wasn't sure whether I liked it or not. I think it had moments, but I would say that I wasn't.
Yeah, it certainly had. I was the same. When I came out, I was like, "Oh, was that it?" And it was felt like it was slightly underwhelming.
Yeah, underwhelming.
That it was slightly.
That's a good
It felt like
observation.
it was aiming for big things,
Yeah.
and that it meant to be quite deep and one of those things that you have to think about.
Yeah.
But in the end, didn't quite achieve the heights that it was aiming for, I don't think. So there were moments of almost like slapstick comedy that you think, what is that?
Yeah, what
Where,
is
that doesn't
relevant?
really fit in with the rest of the film.
That's it. There were moments
there's
like that, and
moments of sheer pathos that you're thinking, oh, again, that doesn't really fit in with the tone of the film that we've seen already. Yeah. So. Yes, it's one of those films. It was a little bit muddled.
Yeah, muddled up. I think. Yeah, it didn't, and it didn't really know what it was trying to say. I don't.
Maybe the transition from like page to screen didn't quite achieve what they hoped to. I mean, I thought it was an interesting film. I think it was. Yeah. It's one of those ones that you go, that was interesting, but then you move on. It doesn't really have as big an impact as I think it thought it probably would.
Yeah.
So I would give that as a score. I would give it a 3.
Yeah, I would have to give it a 3 as well. It's just a 3 for me.
Oh,
yeah, it's not really bad with it. It just doesn't really quite.
So it wasn't like an awful film, but it wasn't not oh, that was good.
What is going on?
So it gets.
We're like agreeing on everything that we've all seen.
Oh well, that's good. That's good. That's good. That's consistency.
That's good.
And I think that is the end of all the films that like at least 2 of us have seen today, and we all agreed on all of them. So okay, cool. Sorry for those of you who are waiting for a fight today. Right, that is the alarm going off, saying us that our time for that is over. So Hummingbird Project, good. And now we go back in this round 2. We have cinema has had its opening salvo, and now we go back to Netflix. And we have The Bad Batch. Shaun, I believe you saw this, and I believe you saw this on my recommendation.
I did see that. Did I see this on your recommendation? It must have been on your recommendation.
I mentioned it a couple of weeks back, yeah. I said that. I saw the trailer, and I thought that it looked like a bit of a grindhousey thing that you'd like.
Yeah, you did. That's right. I remember now. Yeah. So I actually saw this. Yeah. Okay. So basically, it's the story of. It starts off in the desert somewhere, and there's like this young girl, and she gets chased and she gets captured, and these cannibals sort of get hold of her and do something. She escapes and she finds this other like commune place with like it's real happy and it's super.
It's all post-apocalyptic, right?
It's a post-apocalyptic world they live in, but like this one place is all really nice.
A bit more Mad Maxy than.
That's basic story.
That
yeah,
sort of.
It was
that sort of feel though.
Yeah, I would say that sort of feel, a bit sort of Mad Maxy, but without not the vehicles.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Although the costumes were sort of really similar. People just getting dressed up in dustbins and stuff, pots and pans, and and all these characters, with the. It's got Jason Momoa, is it? Jason Momoa?
Yeah, Jason Momoa, yeah.
Is that one of your...
Not really.
Not really, okay. But I should imagine that for any of his fans, they probably love this. And there is a scene where it's just like... There's one scene in it quite early on where it's just like Muscle Beach or like Santa Monica Beach where you got all the people pumping iron and stuff. In fact, I found it grossed me out a little bit because it was just really like... someone walking through and they're all like pumping iron and they're all lifting stuff and all that, and you've got and it's like the music's going boom, 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 and I was just like, well, I don't really want to see this, and that was like about 5 minutes of pumping iron, I think.
Wow.
Wow, she said.
Okay. Actually, this is interesting. Just a quick detour, Sharon. Did you ever feel like that when you saw all those movies in the 80s when they would go to the obligatory strip club?
Yes, when they're like women gyrating in their thongs. Yes, I would be like, oh, give it a rest, Mrs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
I don't really want to see this. All right, cool. I just thought it was interesting. Shaun, carry on. Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So you got a lot of these. Muscle bound people. They're generally the sort of cannibal type ones.
Yep.
So. And,
they need a lot of protein to maintain that muscle.
And Jason Momoa's got this little girl that he really loves. Well, she goes with the girl when she escapes, and they go to this other place with Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, to start off with, you don't actually recognise him for a while.
Oh, good Lord!
Do you know what? Keanu, that's twice we mentioned tonight, isn't it?
Yeah, that's twice.
He's something pretty special, really. I think for the things he does. So he's.
We could do a whole podcast on Keanu.
So they've got the little
Reeves,
girl and. They take the little girl away, and she obviously's got the little girl, and it's all very, very convoluted, and there's a lot of drug-fueled stuff, and
you're not really selling this.
No, it was. It started off. I thought, this looks pretty good. This looks like it's sort of going somewhere. I could get into this.
Yeah.
And then it just got long, and there's moments in this film, really, really just unnecessary moments. It's so long. Like there's a time-lapse scene where obviously someone's dropped some drugs. And it's like about 10 minutes of just this stars in the galaxy, and I'm like, why are you, sort of walking around and stuff like that? And I'm like, what's the point of being this? I come back to see a post-apocalyptic movie. I want to see shooting and guns and people getting... Did you have your finger
on the fast forward? I would have in that moment. I tend to be...
I did.
Fast forward.
Sharon, I did, to be honest. And I thought, when's this going to stop? And it was still going on all these, So yeah, it really, really dragged out. Started off, first 10 minutes or so, I thought, yep, this is looking good. Looks like we could, we could quite like this. And then it just got boring, to be fair. It just got long and boring, and nothing really happened much in the way of action. There wasn't a lot of action. It was all very low-key, and I mean, the scenery wasn't even really that good, So the best part was Keanu Reeves, I'm afraid to say, in this film. So
okay, sure.
So it was
a
little bit of a disappointment. No, it's okay, because from the premise of it, and you would think that it would be quite good, and it did look quite good from the synopsis and stuff. I thought, oh yeah, post-apocalyptic, but it was just long, and there were too many long scenes in it. So yeah. I'm going to have to give this a 2, I'm afraid.
All right.
I know, a real 2. I suppose because it's a letdown, because it started off promising, part was promising, and then it just sort of plummeted. So I'm afraid I can't.
That's unfortunate. It did look like it would be your kind of thing. Like
yeah. And it did to start with, Tosin. It did to start with, to be fair. I thought, ooh, this is quite interesting. A bit of cannibalism, Not that I'm into cannibalism at all, but, sort of limbs being fried and stuff. The funny bit, the bit that I know this is going back. We've got to say this, though, Tosin. Do you remember that film called Pain and Gain?
Yes, I do.
That was with The Rock, wasn't it?
That was with The Rock,
with The Rock and Mark Wahlberg.
Dwayne Johnson.
And where they tried to barbecue the hands.
Oh, I never watched it.
Anyway.
I never actually watched it.
Oh, you never watched it? Okay. Yeah. Well, it reminded me a bit of that. So yeah. Sorry about that. Keep going off. It's because it's a different time scale. I think it's because we're doing it a little bit later, and there's probably people trying to get hold of me.
Okay, cool.
I would think, because normally we're about 6, aren't we? Anyway, so that's a 2-star. Okay,
2-star for you. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, good. Oh, wait, man, having this timer is good. We're actually sort of keeping to it. So it's all right, cool. So that is 2 stars for The Bad Batch. Now we go back to round 3. Now round 3 at the moment, let's see. It was a dead heat in the first round. The second round, cinema took it by a point, and now we're going to round 3. And this is the film I think only I have seen. It's Men in Black International. Which
yes,
yeah, and the fact that
you were also in.
I was also yes. You remembered that? Yes, I actually went to see this film purely to see myself, because I was actually on set for this film. So
yay.
Yeah, I was on set for this film. So there's 2 moments. There are 2 moments in this film where I can see myself. So.
Is there? Oh, that's cool.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes, there's 2 words I was kind of like going, okay, I remember the scene being filmed. I remember this film. Hang on a second. Yep, there I am.
There I am.
It's like, hang on, I remember where I was. I remember where I was standing. Yeah, there I am, right behind Chris Hemsworth's head. But,
wow.
Yeah, so this is the continuation of Men in Black. Now, I'm not sure what you guys... The fact that you guys didn't go see this film makes me think that, you're either not Men in Black fans, or that you have lost... interest in the franchise as it's carried on.
But yeah, pretty much that sums it up for me. I was going to see it, but then I was thinking, do I really want to see another Men in Black film? When after the first one, I wasn't that
because
thrilled by them.
I think that the first one is an absolute classic. The first one, I remember, it's just a joy. I remember watching the first one, and it was one of the first films I ever saw and gone, you know what, that film's too short. I could have easily done with another 20 minutes of that film. And the second one, I think it's a joyless experience. I really think that the second one, they lost it in a big way. The third one, people slate it, but personally, I think they pulled it back a bit. And so they went, okay, we want to carry on this Men in Black thing. It's almost as if they said, okay, we have the property, we can make money out of this, we can make a film. How do we carry it on? there were all sorts of weird ideas of doing a crossover between Men in Black and the 21 Jump Street franchise, all that. And so they ended up with this, where there's no Will Smith, there's no Tommy Lee Jones, but instead place you have Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. And they have this whole storyline about there's Men in Black International that Tessa Thompson plays a girl called Molly, who has known about the Men in Black since she was a kid because something happened in her house. There was an alien out there. Men in Black showed up and they neuralized, so they did that whole memory forgetting thing on her parents, but they didn't realize that she saw them. So she spent her whole life looking and trying to track these people down. So she studied really hard, got to know all these high grades from all these different places. And when she goes to any law enforcement, she applies for the FBI. And they go, oh, you haven't told us what area you want to go work in. She's like, yeah, I want to go for the area that doesn't have a box. And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. So she goes to the CIA and she's like, I want to go for the people who they don't tell you about. And they don't tell her anything. So she sort of tries all these different things to try and find out how to get into the Men in Black, because she thinks that's what I want to do, because there's a truth out there and they're not telling anybody about it, but that's what I want to know. I want to know about the truth. So she eventually finds her way to the Men in Black New York office, meets Emma Thompson, who plays who there was a character that she played in Men in Black 3.
Yeah,
and
she was in it before, wasn't she?
Yes. So she gets sent to the London office to go do an unspecified task. That's the thing. They say, yeah, we're going to send you to London because we need X, Y, Z, but they never say exactly why they're sending her to London. They never say exactly what she's supposed to be doing there, and her motivation of what she does when she gets there doesn't really make sense. And then you have Chris Hemsworth, who is this. He is essentially like, think James Bond, but if people said James Bond is a definite idiot. That's who Hemsworth. That's what. So he's kind of like he's the agent who walks through the thing, and when he walks through in slow motion, all the people are looking at him. Even the female aliens are looking at him, going, ah. It's like, oh, he's just so yummy, because obviously now they're in London, so everybody says yummy and things like that. And then it carries on with a whole. Basically what's going to happen. There's some alien gets killed. There's some people who are after some MacGuffin, and then it's about them running around the world trying to protect this MacGuffin. You might pick up from me that I was not that particularly impressed with the film. It was just kind of like, nah. Apart from the fact that I got to see myself twice.
Yay.
Yeah, I think one of the good things about the first Men in Black was the interplay between Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. They had chemistry that nobody, I think, expected. And just like their different styles sort of played off each other really, really well. And I'm going to say something that seems to be a bit sacrilegious, because everybody seems to be raving about this. I don't particularly think that Tessa Thompson and Chris Hemsworth have the best chemistry together. Even though people have been saying, yeah, but these are the guys who had such good chemistry in Thor Ragnarok, because she played Valkyrie. And this is where it gets a little bit sacrilegious. I don't think the chemistry in Thor Ragnarok was that great.
No, I wouldn't have said that was one of the... I wouldn't have said it was noticeable that they had that chemistry in there.
Yeah, like as a comic.
I think she had more with the Hulk, really.
Yes,
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. I think the Valkyrie Hulk thing really worked in Ragnarok. The Valkyrie Thor thing, I personally felt it was a little bit forced. And I felt like in Men in Black International, it's that, trying to get that sort of like sparking off each other for 90 minutes, or actually no, it's longer than that, it's about 2 hours long, which doesn't really work. You have Kumail Nanjiani who shows up and he plays the alien sidekick pretty much. He has some funny things. I think there's some interplay that Sharon you'd like, where because he's called Pawnee because he's from an alien race who seem to base their whole civilization around chess. So he has a queen.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he has a queen, and he's like, I am a pawn. I am here. I don't have a name. I am just here to sort of to protect my queen. And then he ends up. It's almost a little bit Monty Python-esque how he ends up adopting Tessa Thompson as his new queen. But yeah, sometimes I feel like his sort of comic sensibility is great on me a little bit, to be honest with you. So the film was all right, but it was kind of like when you're watching a film and it feels like a join the dots exercise. Yeah, where it's like, okay, cool, this needs to happen, and then we just need that to happen because then we can go there, and then we need that to happen, then we can go there, and then we need that to happen, and it starts, and it globe trots like a Bond movie. So it feels like it's trying to be a Bond movie, but I don't think that's what Men in Black is, and it doesn't have the sense of fun or the sense of touch that I think Barry Sonnenfeld had with the first Men in Black, which is with that sort of comedy feel and comedy touch that just
Yeah.
made things spark.
You want that
Yeah.
lightness of touch, don't you, on there?
Yeah, it didn't spark, and I have to say, while I was on set with this film, I did think
This felt forced, yeah.
it
felt forced.
felt a bit that got to me, and I have to admit,
Yeah.
when nothing that this film essentially from when I was on set ended up being everything that I thought it would be. So
Okay.
yeah, it ended up being everything that I thought it would be. But I would give it a 3 out of 5. It's serviceable.
Okay.
It's serviceable, but it's not enough to make me go, "Yay, Men in Black, they're back!" And right on cue, there is our alarm. So
Time's up. I don't feel like I've missed much by not having gone to see that.
I don't think you've missed much by not seeing that either. So I don't think you've missed much. But okay, so now that is opening salvo from cinema in round 3, and now we go over to Netflix and Friends with Deadwood 2019. So Sharon, you were a big Deadwood fan. I mean, you lent me the box set, which I never watched. and this is the long-mooted. They always said they were going to try and round off the story and come up with a final thing to sort of tie up all the loose ends that they didn't get because they got cancelled after 2 seasons. So you watched this, and I'm really interested to find out what you thought about it.
Yeah, this is basically, even though it's made a long time after the series, it's set 10 years later.
Yep.
It's Deadwood is in the state of South Dakota. Is it South Dakota? It's not North. I've got the right. It's in the Dakotas, and it's when it's basically being granted statehood, and so there's a celebration in Deadwood to celebrate the statehood, and it marks the time when the telephone has been invented, and they're stringing the telephone wires across the country, and they're just then the telephone is going to be arriving in Deadwood to coincide with the celebration of statehood, and so that's basically the catalyst of the story, and then it brings all these other people who have returned to Deadwood to celebrate the statehood. So you've got Calamity Jane comes back.
Yep.
Then you've got I'm just trying to think of her character's name. You've got Alma Ellsworth, who plays by Molly Parker. She returns.
Yep.
She made her fortune out of a gold mine in the original series. And then in the town still, you've got Sheriff Seth Bullock, played by Timothy Oliphant, and then you've got Al Swearingen, who's still got his brothel and saloon, who's played by Ian McShane. And then what I thought was remarkable...
Ian McShane playing Ian McShane.
But Ian McShane just...
It's funny, he's just sort of appeared from Lovejoy,
riot.
and then he wasn't very well, and then he's just like been in everything.
He just obviously has a ball when he plays Al Swearingen, because he swears a lot, and he just does all sorts of inappropriate... He gets away with everything, basically.
Yeah.
So it's... And what was remarkable, I thought, was basically the entire cast from the original series, well, about those who were still alive. I mean, there's a couple have died since, but all of them who are still alive came back.
Yeah.
Even the minor characters who were just like, walk-bys, maybe had one line in the whole thing. They were back. So it was remarkable to see everyone sort of assembled to get together. Basically, some of the things that were unresolved in the series, there was a murder at the end of the series that went unresolved. They sort of addressed that. They address some of the unresolved issues about some of the relationships that were left hanging. Those are sort of tied up. So yeah, it does. It brings all these characters back together for a final sort of swan song. Because yeah, it did end too soon. When it ended, you feel like going, oh, there's got, what about that? And what about them? And what about the other? So it does tie up a lot of those loose ends. So, but it was really good to see all the old gang back together again.
Oh, so do you think that they actually had a story to tell?
I've not seen this series.
So do you think they actually had a story to tell, or do you think that it was just a bit more sort of fan service? Like, okay, you've supported us all this time, let's just round this thing up for you properly.
Yes, I get the feeling of that they wanted to do it properly before, but they never had the opportunity. And then finally the timing was right, that they were all able to get together and do it. So I think they basically wanted to say goodbye properly to Deadwood, to finish it off properly. So I get the feeling that it was a case of like saying, okay, you wanted it, you've got it. We wanted to finish this off better. We feel like we weren't given a fair run at the time. We were cancelled too soon. So I think for everyone, it was a case of, we wanted this, so this is it. We've we've done what we've been trying to do for the last sort of 15 years or more.
And I'm guessing, obviously, you can't just jump into it. You have to watch the TV series before you. Pick this up.
Yes, absolutely. If you watch this, I think you'd have no. They do a couple of flashback scenes, so you pad out what's gone on. But I think unless you had some degree of knowledge, you would have no idea what was going on.
Right.
That was quite fun. There's one of the characters called Mr. Wu, who's a Chinese guy who disposes of all the bodies by feeding them to his big pigs. He has this one line that he says in every episode, and he didn't say it. And I was waiting for him to say it. It's a swear word. It's really obscene. But he normally says, you, blah, blah, blah. And he didn't say it this time. And part of me was thinking, I'm glad you didn't say it, because Mr. Wu is more than just this one phrase.
Yeah.
But then the fact that Mr. Wu was in there at all, I thought was great.
Are these is this a comedy western?
No.
Because I've not even seen the series. No, it's not a comedy
it's
western.
brutal and sort of realist.
Comedy,
but there's humour in it.
Yeah.
But it's black humour. It's as black as you can get.
Much way in action. You know, is there much in the way of shoot-ups and stuff?
Not as much shoot-ups, but there's certainly violence.
Oh, right,
it's violent. There's brothels, so there's a fair bit of nudity. There's
They do that a lot, don't they?
Spartacus,
Rome.
There's not so much in this one. In this episode there wasn't much nudity, but in the series, there was a lot, and there's a lot of violence and a lot of swearing.
I feel like it was kind of the proto Game of Thrones before Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, I think without this and Rome, Game of Thrones would not have been made.
Yeah,
this paved the way, and I think Rome came before Deadwood, but with Rome and Deadwood, they certainly paved the way for a new type of television. Aimed at adults, based on, they didn't talk down to the. You had to concentrate on Deadwood because the phrasing of the speech patterns were very much stylized and of their time.
Yeah,
it was sort of more almost like a heightened stylization of the speach patterns. So it was.
Yeah. And how many stars then, Sharon?
Oh,
she's thinking here.
I'll give it a 4.
4-star.
Okay, cool.
As a fan,
as a
4
fan.
as a fan. As a non-viewer, if you've not seen the series, it wouldn't be any more than a 3.
Okay. Yeah,
because you'd be thinking, I've got no idea what's going on.
Yeah, but if you hadn't seen the series, it's pointless watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, all right.
But it delivers what you want. You want to see the same old characters back again, you want to see,
You want to see them have the proper ending.
Yeah.
Okay, because
there was an ending.
Because in the nature of Deadwood, I do not expect that many people are going to have a happy ending. So I'll just say a proper ending because it's not going to be a happy one.
A proper ending.
Yeah.
They did have a couple of happy endings, so there were elements of that in there.
All right, cool.
And also brutal murder and death.
The Deadwood way.
Murder, death, kill.
Yeah. All right, cool. So that is us up. And so now we have a special bonus 4th round. Guys, we might actually finish this thing. So we have a special bonus for 4th round because, Shaun, you saw a film that I'm actually really impressed. Did you see this on the island or on the mainland?
Which one are we talking about?
Diego Maradona.
Oh, Diego Maradona, yeah. Just this. No, I saw this here. It was on at Cineworld here.
Oh, good.
I saw that yesterday.
I'm really impressed this made it to the island because I haven't found this anywhere near me. So tell us about Diego Maradona.
Okay, basically, Diego Maradona, obviously you must have heard of him. I mean, mainly we remember him
the hand of God.
That's exactly right, the hand of God when he handballed. But the second goal with the England game was fantastic. Well, this is basically about, he starts off, plays for Barcelona, and he's doing really well, and then he goes to Italy. Well,
is this a drama or is this a documentary?
No, it's a documentary, and it's just all. It's really, the footage is shot it's very grainy footage. It's very, so it's all the footage of him. Well, so he goes. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say it's made by the same guy who made Senna and made Amy.
Senna, yeah.
Yeah, and so
I quite like those.
essentially all the footage that was shot is footage that was shot at the time. So it was shot in the 70s and all that kind of stuff. So so you're not going to have any HD.
That's it. So basically, although we knew about Maradona and he was a good player in England, obviously I knew of him. This goes a bit more in depth because I wasn't, obviously he was.
He's a phenomenon, isn't he, in South America?
Well, yeah, but he's like a cocaine. Anyway, he got into drugs and he got mixed up with the mafia and all sorts of stuff. So basically, what happens is you had obviously Italia '90, and they play this. For his home team, they play the game. Right, it's a semi-final. And it's Argentina, and obviously Diego's Argentinian. So Argentina plays Italy in the stadium, and he's on interview, and he says, "I know the fans love me and all that, so hopefully they will want Argentina to win." So, of course, and they do win. And that's history. So it's not like, and they do win it, and they do go into the final. So they've knocked out Italy, the host nation. And he said these things. So he starts getting hated. They hate him, and he starts getting all this stuff. And the friends he's made in the mafia that sort of protect him, they're like, whoa, this is bringing a lot of heat on us. We want nothing to do with it. So they sort of pull back, and of course he gets caught, and he gets into loads and loads of trouble. And that is really interesting for me. That was a really, really interesting
insight
for me, yeah, because I didn't know that much about it. You heard a lot, but this was really more in depth, and I found it really interesting. To be fair, I found this quite interesting.
All right, so it's kind of like the headlines, like, okay, the headlines of Maradona is Mexico '86, hand of God. It's winning the World Cup single-handedly, scoring that goal against England. Those are all the sort of like headlines of Maradona. And then later in his life, there's obviously the drug abuse and all that kind of stuff that came up and all that. But you're saying this goes behind the scenes and actually sort of gives you more context as to what was going on behind all these headlines.
Gives you more interest in. They do say the hand of God, which is what we're all big at, and they touch on it. It's not like a huge thing.
Yeah, does this focus on a particular period of his life, or is it like his whole life?
No, it's the whole life from when he's young. Life. So it starts off when he's young, and he goes to Spain, goes to Barcelona, and then from Barcelona he's there for a few years.
So it's a proper
and then when he gets to Italy, he's just like class, Okay. So yeah, so it's pretty cool. It's pretty good movie.
Do you need to be a football fan or someone familiar with that world to enjoy it?
No, I wouldn't have thought so. I'd have thought it's just interesting because although there's obviously a lot of football in it and they do focus on football, there's there's a lot more involved and a lot more with his private life and where it went and it's good stuff.
Because I think Diego Maradona, he's the kind of character that he's the kind of character that it doesn't matter whether you get into football or not. You're just kind of like, what's he gonna do next?
Yeah.
What,
I think he wants to be Manchester United, doesn't he? He wants to be manager of Manchester United.
I don't know.
Does he heck?
The truth is that you could tell me anything about Maradona and I would believe it. He wants to be the first man to live on the moon. I would believe that. Because his life just seems to be crazy. It seems that he is never far away from a news story, if not a full-blown scandal. But it's so this is something that actually I want to see because I think it would be just fascinating to see just someone trying to explain what the heck this guy
was all about.
Yeah, was all about.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you
some of the
get
crowd
very
scenes.
far.
No, it's expressions. He looks sort of quite terrified a lot of the time. To be fair, he's like, and it actually says it in the thing. There's like two people. There was Diego and there was Maradona. But sometimes he just looks absolutely terrified when there's like crowds of people around him. He looks like he's like, to me from the footage, he's like he doesn't know where to look, and he looks at it's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
Cool, good stuff. Good
Score?
stuff. How many? Yeah.
I'm going to say that. I would say it's a really, really solid 3. It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch. I'll probably. Possibly stretch it to a 4, but I think you could quite easily watch this on Netflix or on TV. When it's a film 4, so film 4's involved in it, so it'll probably be on film 4 soon, I should think.
Yeah, but just because you could watch it on Netflix doesn't mean that it's less of a film.
No, okay. So okay, then I'm gonna stick my neck out and say it's probably. It could go a 4. I could give it a 4. I'd be generous on this.
Okay, I was about to write 3.5 due to Shaun's.
3.5 is better. 3.5. Give it a 3.5. Yeah, 3.5.
3.5 because I can hear the conflict in you. So
that's it.
Okay, cool, good stuff. And now we go into a final film, and this is Sharon. You saw a film called Redcon 1.
Yes. I probably don't need to spend an awful lot of time on this one, to be honest.
I've seen this in pictures.
Because this is
I'll just write a 1 down now.
Yeah, just let's just cut the score. Yeah, Redcon 1. Yeah.
Did you not like it, Sharon?
Well, it's a British zombie film of the worst possible type.
Do you think so? Yeah.
As in that it's poorly made, it's cheap, It's not very well acted, and it doesn't make a lot of sense in lots of places.
Yeah.
But saying that, it's a British film, so I like to support the British film industry.
Yep.
Quite violent.
It's quite violent. It's got the people who wrote this and made this know their George A. Romero. They know their zombie history, and so there are nods, I think, to the zombie. And I think they've seen Warriors, and I think they've seen Mad Max, because there's elements of those films in it. There's, but the thing that basically the story is the zombie virus has escaped. There was this mad scientist type guy who's been running experiments on prisoners in a prison system, trying to develop a weaponized sort of zombies, so that combat soldiers who get injured can then carry on fighting, even though they may be injured beyond their capacity, or they may have lost brain function. So it's this, they want to create this sort of perfect soldier. But as these things happen in these films, something goes horribly wrong and it gets released into the general population, and it quickly turns into epidemic proportions, and they create this like a quarantine zone, which basically takes in London, Essex, Kent, most of the home counties, and it's this huge area of Britain is basically in quarantine zone. And then within 30 days after the outbreak, they send in this group of soldiers to try to find this mad scientist doctor guy, to see if he can find a solution. He started it. They want to see if he can maybe find an answer to solving it.
Yep.
And it all comes down to this, what they call patient zero or patient X.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the genesis of this awful thing.
Yeah.
And so you have this. So much so, 28 weeks later, where they sort of send the soldiers in, and then it all goes. I think when it went mad.
Yeah, with the motorcycle gang.
Motorcycle gang. It's like you've had quarantine for 30 days, so already you've got a motorcycle gang where you wear your own makeup.
I know. And
there's another gang.
It's a totally bizarre, mad, crazy film.
Yeah, and then they have another gang where it's like, we're like bikers, well, it's just weird stuff goes on.
Zombie bikers fighting
and
bikers.
You think
it's funny.
And they have like zombie soldiers where they're zombies, but they remember what they do, and so they
get some real combat. So you get some like kung fu zombies, don't you?
Kung fu zombies,
motorcycle gangs. You've got some weird other people. Even the people that go in there are pretty nuts, aren't they?
The soldiers are nuts.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So Sharon, it sounds like
thing's nuts.
It sounds like from what you're saying, it has, because the premise sounds a little bit like it's bringing something new. But it sounds like you're saying that apart from the premise, after that it just becomes derivative and just sort of borrows from better films.
Yes, I think they've got nods towards other better films, even though they're not particularly high budget, some of them. They just seem to want to deliver. Like Romero, he delivered on a shoestring budget. Yep. But it was just a bit of a hot mess, I think, is the only way to describe it. My brother actually was watching this with me, and then he sort of cleared off after a while, and then he came back and he said, "Are you still watching that?" And I said, "Look, I've given this an hour of my time. I'm going to stick this out to the end, so at least I can review it at the end of it."
That's good. So as we're getting close now,
that was
how
the
many
only
stars?
How many stars did you get?
Two stars.
Two.
Okay.
2 stars.
That's one.
That's going to make it interesting. I would, on the other hand, I
have seen it. Shaun
I have seen it. I saw this at the pictures. It was out for a week, and I thought I'm going to go and see it, and it was the most craziest, maddest thing I've seen. So, I mean, I'd give it a 3. If I was to watch it, I'd give it a 3, just purely for the novelty factor of the motorcycle. And I love the motorcycles versus zombies when they have the face-off, like a big face-off. And then they all it's like a football match, Come on,
the Warriors,
come on.
Yeah.
Come
on, if you think you're hard
I remember
enough.
when I used to spend in the 1970s on the football terrace, and you were going, "Come on, then, come on, then." That was just like that, lined up. The zombies would be straight in, I would have thought, but no,
they're waiting, aren't
they?
They
have that little face-off with neutral, moving forward a bit, and
it's just
it's a fun film.
I stuck it out for this show.
Well
that's
done.
That's how dedicated I am.
Thank you so much, Sharon. We thank you for your service.
That's right.
I think, Shaun, I think you have said that it's so bad it's good. That's pretty much what you said. That's my interpretation of what you said. Yeah, it's so bad it's good. All right, cool. As you said, it has made it interesting. It is close. And the final thing is like this week, the winner is... What do you guys think?
I think it's Netflix.
I think cinema.
Do you? Draw.
Okay.
Call it a draw.
Okay, the winner...
wounded, flesh wound.
Yeah, the winner this week by 0.375 of a point is... Cinema.
Hey.
Toy Story did it,
Toy
I think.
Story, I
Story
think,
must
took
have
the
done it.
game.
Yeah, Toy Story was the highest rated one. Toy Story was the highest rated
Yeah.
one. Netflix was a mixed batch and all that. But anyway, I know you guys have to head off somewhere, and
Yeah,
so
we do.
all that's left to say is goodbye from me,
And goodbye for me.
And goodbye from me.
and we will see you guys next week when we'll be watching. I don't even know yet. I'm gonna have to go and see what's what. Well, I'm gonna see Avengers, the re-released version of Avengers Endgame tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, but anyway,
Okay, we look forward to that.
okay, cool, and I will speak to you guys later.
Okay, speak to you
Bye now.
later, Toes.
Bye.